My special guest today is a singer-musician who started out on the pub and club scene in Liverpool. Trust me, the best training ground for any performer to start out. He later put together a Phil Collins solo tribute act and now performs as Phil Collins, touring in 2 major production tribute shows with a full band. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show Mr. Chris O Connell. How you doing, me old mate?
Good evening, Joe. Okay?
Yeah, I'm just thinking back there. It's been so long since I saw you. I remember you, me and your Uncle Les had some great days and nights out in Liverpool city centre.
Yeah, that was 20 years ago and I can still remember it to this day.
Wow. Do you remember the little French bar Les used to play in? I think it was called Die Snuff.
D-Nerf, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't say it right. Die was it? Yeah, a little French bar. Yeah, we were always in there, weren't we? It was just round the corner from Matthew Street.
There, hanging out. Matthew Street changed a lot since then.
Oh, yeah, I was there just over, nearly 2 years ago. I was down there in Matthew Street. Last time I was home. How's Les doing?
He's fine, yeah. I was talking to him before. He's still doing his Neil Diamond
yeah, but
acting stuff.
He's got a great Neil Diamond voice, though. He always has, you know.
Yeah, he's spot on. He's still doing that.
Yeah, that's good. Give him my regards for sure. But besides Uncle Les, you come from a well-known Liverpool musical family, the O'Connells. Your dad, Kenny. Uncle Johnny, who formed one of Liverpool's great duos, Ground Pig. It was Groundhog at first, wasn't it? Then it went to Ground Pig.
Yeah, Groundhog in the 70s.
Yeah, 80s and 90s. They dominated the city centre, you know. But tell us about your introduction to music through the family. And was it through the family you got into music? I'm guessing it was.
You know what, Joe? My dad used to play, so many great records at home. I was born in 75, so it was about 82. I remember my dad just playing records like George Benson and Toto and Hall & Oates. And I just remember just playing the drums to the sofa on it. And it's all going into your head, isn't it? And your psyche.
Yeah.
It's all going in. So, that was my first introduction. And then I picked up one of my dad's guitars when I was 15 and started trying to strum and learn some notes. And it went from there, really. Yeah.
And then you got into the club and pub scene in Liverpool. Like I said when I introduced you, playing the pubs and clubs in Liverpool, it's an apprenticeship and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, I was in a band for a while, and I done a duo for about 5 years, and then my voice was getting stronger and stuff, and I thought I want to try and do this on my own as a singer and a frontman kind of thing, and see if I can do it, if I can hack it. And part of that wasn't just singing. Part of that was learning how to deal with an audience and keep you cool and keep them entertained. A little bit of banter and patter and stuff.
Yeah.
And, there was some challenging nights, I'm sure you know as well. The Saltbox in Bootle, and it was really edgy atmosphere. But it's one of them. You've just got to stay cool. And in the end, they appreciated what I did. And I was okay. It's just, it's one of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying about Liverpool being a great training ground, because they'll let you know. When you're in a band, you've got each other to bounce off, but as soon as you go solo, and we've both done that, you're on your own.
You can hide with a band.
Yeah.
You can hide a bit. I remember doing a wedding on it, Aintree Racecourse, to about 600 people. Me and a little Fostex mini disc player. That was the band,
Yeah.
on the back instruction. And I thought, if that packs in or stops, there's no one to change it apart from me.
When you think about all the places we've done through the years and you look back, you're like, wow, we're still alive, man.
I've always found it to, dissect troubles and a bit of a dodgy audience by staying cool. If you rise, it makes things worse, But I wouldn't swap it for the world for me apprenticeship playing
at
home.
No,
because it gets you ready. If you do make it to a bigger stage, and thank God I've got a few breaks in the last few years where I've met some people in the business and got on those stages, you're well equipped then, and you'd appreciate it as well, You're
talking about Bootle, St. George's Tavern. You remember St. George's Tavern? I was in a duo with Stevie Pring called The Snag Is. We all went to mini disc, but you remember the DAT machines? We had a DAT machine.
I remember a DAT vaguely, yeah. My dad had one, yeah.
I remember the sound checking, and we put the backing track on, and then I turned it off, and this guy comes over to me, hammered, dancing. He says, I want my pound back. I said, I want my pound back. He was that gone. He thought our DAT machine was the jukebox that he put his pound in. I said, listen. So that's an example to the listeners of saving your apprenticeship as a singer in Liverpool. But let's not forget, we're talking about your family. Let's not forget your uncle, Terry O'Connell.
Yeah, well, he's a character, that Terry, isn't he,
Well, I used to train with Terry. I used to work out in the Rotunda boxing gym with him in the 80s. And I'll tell you a funny story about your Terry. There's another, I don't know whether you know Jimmy Rooney, another mate of ours I've not seen for a long time.
Les has mentioned him, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Jimmy and Terry, because Terry was a doorman, your Uncle Terry.
Plumbers, Kirkland's.
He's done all that. But as you know, he plays saxophone. He's a sax player, right? Jimmy Rooney was telling us one day in the gym, working on the door with Terry O'Connell there, he said, and there was a band on, and at the end of the night, Terry's talking to the band, and the band had a saxophone player, and this big fight breaks out. And there's only two of us on the door. He said, I'm in the middle of it, right in the mix. He said, I'm looking around looking for Terry, and he's playing the band's saxophone. In the middle of the melee.
Trying to chill everyone out with the sax instead of breaking up the fight.
Great guy. Give all the family my regards, you know. So, Chris, when did you first decide to go out as Phil Collins, doing the Phil Collins solo act?
I used to practice at home a lot, singing those songs, like, you know, all the Phil stuff and the Genesis stuff. And it was really challenging to sing, and I wasn't reaching the notes, you know, and I wasn't hitting them with power, but I loved it so much that I kept going. And then slowly but surely, I sort of got there and got better. And then I was playing live, and I sung a couple live, and I noticed that they were getting a bigger round of applause than me singing other stuff. You know, because my voice and my vocal timbre and sound is really close to his. You know, from then on, I thought, well, I love doing this. So why not try and get myself out there as some type of tribute act and maybe audition for some tribute shows, you know, because it was always my dream to play in a theatre, Joe. I went to see Freddie Starr with me nan in the 90s, the late 90s. I sat down the front seat of the Empire, and I've never been so entertained and blew away all my life, and I thought, I've got to work in this atmosphere, the theatre. Yeah. It's the most magical place in the world, even more than doing an arena. I just love theatres, and the Empire, you know, being close to home, like, and he was just outstanding. He done that comedy sketch where he goes faster. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I was in awe, you know, so that was always my goal, you know, and the clock was ticking a bit, you know, I was in my late, say, clock was ticking, I was in my mid-30s, probably still a bit young, but you know, I thought, I've got to do this soon and do this now, because if I don't, you know, as much as I like playing the pubs and clubs, that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. Yep. You know, you need these little breaks when you're young, don't you? Like yourself, you've done the cruise ships, you got over to the States.
Yeah.
So, you know, luckily enough, I started singing the stuff, and then I got an audition for the Genesis Visible Touch show.
Would you say Phil Collins is your biggest musical influence?
I mean, I was a guitarist first, funnily enough, like my dad. And I was obsessed with Dave Gilmour out of Pink Floyd. I just thought he was the greatest guitarist I'd ever heard. So I'd say musically Dave Gilmour. And then when I was 19, 20, I got a trick of the tail, Genesis, and I heard the vocals with Phil singing on them songs like Ripples and stuff. And I thought, this is another planet. This band is just, this is another planet. Them and the Beatles for me were great songwriters as well as great singers. And I'd say, he's my main influence, although I love loads of male vocalists as well as him, you know, in bands.
Well, as you know, I live in San Antonio, Texas, and Phil Collins is usually here every March for the anniversary of the Alamo. He saw the Disney production of Davy Crockett, The King of the Wild Frontier, when he was a young boy and became enthralled by the Alamo, and he's here all the time. One time, he was inside doing a talk, and me and my wife lived downtown at the time, round the corner from the Alamo. So it was all these people had name tags on were going inside. So my missus wanted to see Phil Collins, not so much the Alamo. She went over to the Texas Ranger and she says, listen, we live here, and can we come in, you know, listen to the talk? Oh, it's family descendants only. It was all Hispanic people. And we said, we're from England. And the English died in it as well, as does the Scottish and the Welsh and the, you know, and the Irish. Yeah. So why can't we come in and have a listen to the... So she said, I'll see if there's any seats, we'll see. So she looks and she brings us in. So we goes in and we sits down, and Phil is up there doing the speech. It's like being in a little church, just listening to him. He's like on the altar, if you like.
I've seen footage of that, yeah.
Well, he's just saying, you know, I'm Phil Collins. You might have heard me on the radio, see me on the TV. I'm not here for music or to talk about music. I'm here for the Alamo. And he reads all the names out. When it come to England, when the people stand up, it was just me, my missus, and Phil. That was it. All the rest were the Spanish people. So I had John Martin on the show as a guest, the Liverpool comedian. He's been on this show as a guest. And John's been out here. John's a big historian. He writes books on military history and stuff, and he loves history. I took him round the Alamo, but when he was on the show, I was telling him about the time when we got on Phil Collins, you know, and we went, and he said, "Wow, really?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you just rush in like?" I said, "No, he asked the Texas Ranger, could we come in?" And she opened the door and had a look round, and there was seats. He said, so you didn't just rush in like? I'm like, "No." He said, "Because I heard Phil Collins turn around to your missus and said, 'You can't hurry, love.'" Yeah, so he had me there, John.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, John Martin. Class act, John.
Oh, brilliant.
Well, Chris, let's talk about the Phil Collins tribute shows that you're involved in now. So how did you land the gig? Obviously, you auditioned, yeah?
Yeah, there was a guy, a management company, looking to form a Genesis tribute show similar to the Aussie Floyd and the Brit Floyd, which I've toured the States, and they still do, and they tour the UK, and they actually do arenas and theatres. So he was looking at, you know, building something like that for Genesis fans. So basically, I got spotted on YouTube. It's just a very random thing. I sort of knew someone involved, and he said, "Can you send some videos to him and some audio?" Sent them over, and I sort of got, you know, I got the job the same week, really. Oh. He said, "Yeah, you know, you're the right age, the right look." The only problem was I couldn't play the drums. So that took 5 years to nail.
So you started when you got the gig, you had to start playing the drums then? You had to learn from scratch?
Yeah, because visually, I mean, part of the Genesis and Phil show is 2 drum kits. And of course, him going back the kit. So if you can't go back the kit, you're sort of losing. Yeah. You're losing something, sound-wise and visually. So I've learned them the last 5 years. And in between, we've slowly done, you know, we started off doing smaller gigs, building the band's name, which is Genesis Visible Touch. And we've built it, again, just kept going last few years. And the last 3 years, we've done a full tour. And next year, we move to like 2,000-seater theatres. We're doing York Barbican. Wow. We'll do Liverpool Philharmonic, the Apex, Bury St Edmunds. And, you know, a lot of, you know, great musicians are playing on these stages like Delamitri and 10cc. Paul Young, and so yeah, it's going in the right direction, and I'm just really humbled and over the moon to be playing on the same stage as those people. And there's great comedians on there as well, you know, Jimmy Carr off the TV and all that type of stuff. So yeah, it's going in the right direction, Joe. But keep me feet on the ground and keep going with it.
How hard was it to perfect not only the vocals and sounding like Phil Collins, but also the stage presence? Because you basically have to step into his shoes to make an act like this really work, don't you? You have to become that person.
Yeah, I think with me, it's not really an impersonation. It's like, it seems to come really naturally to me, the mannerisms and characteristics. I mean, a lot of people have commented, you move the same way as him. It's just like a lucky accident. You know, all that same walk and same movements. It's just really, really lucky, you know. And I went to act a bit like himself. I went to theatre school for a year on Eggbeth Road back in Liverpool. So I spent a year there doing drama and learning how to perform in front of people. And that's helped. That's also equipped me for this role. So, yeah, it seems to come naturally, Joe.
Good for you. And there's two separate productions, right, you were telling me?
Genesis Visible Touch.
Okay.
And when we got out gigging, there was an established Phil Collins show called And Finally Phil Collins. That was the name of his last tour, like an ironic, you know, And Finally, because everyone who retires never does and tours again. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the manager from then spotted me, came to a Genesis Visible Touch gig, and really liked what I did and said, "Well, we really like you for the role because our singer's packed in. Would you like to step into his shoes?" So I've been a part of that for 3 years now. So a bit like Phil's career, I do the 2 shows, which it's amazing. It is like living my dream, really, you know.
Fantastic.
I can't complain.
Are all the songs Genesis songs, or you do any Phil solo stuff too?
In the And Finally Phil Collins show, that's all Phil stuff, but we do throw like a couple of Genesis ones in, like Misunderstanding and Land of Confusion, which he's done on his solo tours, and Invisible Touch as well. And with the Genesis one, that's strictly Genesis stuff, really, Phil Collins era.
Well, the Finally Phil Collins, do you do In the Air Tonight and the classics like that?
We do In the Air Tonight, yeah, with the, you know, I have the little headpiece on, the wireless thing, and there was talks of me putting a gorilla suit on pure comic value, but I sort of dissuaded them. I thought that could be a little bit crude, you know. But at time, when he times getting right back to the seat before the blah 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 blah,
yeah.
I try to work that in, and I've actually got some audio and video. Maybe I can share it next time if you invite me back on the show sometime.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. Did none of the band members know each other when you first started rehearsals and the whole thing come together?
The Genesis Visible Touch. Two of the band members knew each other, the guitarist and the bass player, Martin, because they worked in the same college. They both teach, you see.
Right.
And one of them said, well, do you want to have a go with this? I've got the part. Do you want to have a go on bass? And he got it. So, yeah, apart from that, we were all scattered. I was in Liverpool. Tony's from down south, although he now lives up in Liverpool. Martin and Stu were down south again. So, yeah, all scattered, really.
You telling me before we did the show about the keyboard players played with somebody?
Yeah, Tony's played with a few, like, famous people, like Fish out of Marillion, who sung Kaylee.
Yeah.
Also, Thomas Dolby. He's played with Thomas Dolby, and he's played with a few others as well. But he's just dead cool. But he never name drops. So all of a sudden you're talking to him in the kitchen and he just mentions these people and you're like, oh, right, okay. Yeah. So Tony's got like more of a pedigree than me, sort of just done little bits and got out there.
How was it when you first started doing the theatres? Your first experience doing this?
It's different.
Yeah.
I think it's different once once people have paying to see you. I wouldn't say there's an added pressure, but because I don't really, I know how to deal with pressure, but there's an added expectancy. You will get people sitting there on the front row with their arms crossed, like, pay money, let's see how good you are,
Yeah.
But that's where the mileage comes in, and there's no better feeling than being backstage at a theatre and hear people file in, and you can see them getting the tickets marked, and that's what I always wanted. And you can hear them sit down, and the noise gets a little bit louder, and funnily enough, I mean, after the pandemic, the 18 months, it was a little bit like doing it all again. And a lot of comedians I've spoke to have said this. It was like, Jesus Christ, I mean, I went out and I was like, my arse was going. It was like doing it again. And it was like, whoa, I forgot what this was about. And I felt the same,
Yeah.
So you'd have to settle in after a couple of songs. But I find that the best thing to do with an audience is relax them, relax yourself, and sort of be a mate with them, be yourself. Yeah. And then the whole thing just settles down. But theatres have got a special, atmosphere, and the acoustics are always marvellous in a theatre.
Yeah.
The sound is always fantastic. It's,
It's like what you're saying there. I remember reading Sinatra in an interview saying, if you're uneasy, the audience are going to be uneasy too.
It's a bit pointless, really, being nervous and uneasy.
Yeah.
Because they'll feel the same, Yeah. Just have fun.
You're out there, you got to do it. So just get on with it,
Yeah. Give people a night that they won't forget, hopefully, when you talk about a few years later and say, oh, I remember that gig,
Any of the venues really stand out for you in particular, what you've done so far?
Liverpool Phil was good. There's 2 rooms in the Liverpool Phil. So there's the main hall and there's the music room, which holds a few hundred. But because there was no space in the hall, we done the music room 3 nights on the row. Yeah. And that was the test to see if we could sell that out. If we sold that out, then we get asked to do the main hall, because all of a sudden that's like 900, 1,000 people. Yeah. And we sold out. Luckily enough, we sold out 3 nights, and we had people wanting to come to a 4th night. And those nights were just unbelievable. I think because I'm like from home as well.
Yeah,
it added to it.
In your hometown.
And I was always like, I'm an Evertonian.
Okay. So,
I was going to come out with like a half Everton and half Liverpool kit to keep everyone happy. But then I thought, nah. And I think I told them I was a blue at the end, and it was just boo, it was all this. But it was great, It was
Fourth show cancelled.
Awesome. It was just the atmosphere, especially on the last night. We done the Duke tour, like a reproduction, and it's going to be good when you come out. And there was a roar even before we started it in the note, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
This is
what a feeling.
And you just don't want to leave the stage, the score, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing about music, it takes people to another place, another world for 2 hours and away from reality. No other job does that, apart from being in the movie business, I suppose.
Yeah.
So very blessed, mate, aren't we?
We are, when you think about it, years were spent doing it, still doing it. I go through my phases where I'm like, panic sometimes, 53. But once I'm on singing, I'm fine. Once I'm performing again, I'm okay. I'm actually okay. But how did you get through the pandemic?
Oh my God.
Any virtual gigs?
You know what? We never, and like there was just like too many issues trying to get a good stream with a 5-piece band,
Yeah.
So really, I just concentrated on doing my own songs, really, because it was the time to do it. And I've ended up writing about 4 or 5 songs, which I'm recording with some guy who's in the States, like yourself. He lives in Albuquerque. So that was one good thing to come out of it.
Well, when they're finished, get them to me and we'll play them on the show. But I know what you mean about getting a sound, because there's a lot of people went live streaming just from the phones and stuff. Lucky for me, the guy who I record with, he's qualified in the Berklee School of Music as a producer. That's who I record with out here. So he's very clued up, and he gave me an iRig. He said, you need to get an iRig. And he showed me his iRig. I don't know if you've heard of an iRig, but an iRig was basically just come out the mixer into like the iPad. Then I just had earbuds going in from the mixer. So I'm singing just in the room level, no amplification.
Yeah.
But it was a quality sound going out direct from the mixer when I went out on Facebook. And I did 29 weeks of Facebook live streams just to keep going, So I just did solo from home.
Just to get through.
Yeah, just to get through. 29 weeks. I'm going to think about it now. I'm like, how did we get through that? But we did. We reopened here again a year ago to 25%. I know it took a lot longer back home to reopen. And you went through phases of closing again, then reopening again.
It was only a couple of months ago, Joe, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, Genesis themselves have been touring recently, and sadly Phil has been struggling physically. I saw he had to sit down most of the time, and he wasn't really drumming. Well, in fact, he wasn't drumming, right?
Yeah, he's not drumming at all, is he? He's doing air drumming, isn't he? Well, his boy's on the kit.
Oh, that's his
His
son?
lad Nicholas is on the kit, yeah.
That's his son drumming, yeah.
He's fantastic.
Did you get to see any of the shows?
No, I've been offered a ticket. I got offered a ticket for the one down south from a guy who comes to watch the tribute show.
Yeah.
And he was like, got a spare ticket here. But then the gigs have been cancelled because 2 of the band have got COVID, so that's that.
Right.
That's that gone. But I'm sure I'll get to watch a gig. I believe the visuals on stage, the production is amazing. And Phil's voice is still there. He can't get up high the way he could. Yeah. But he's carrying it off. And his sense of humour is great, so he's always good with the humour and stuff. So
I only read that they were on tour. I haven't really studied where they toured. Did they just tour the UK, or have they been out here?
Just been doing England, haven't they?
Oh, okay.
They're about to do Glasgow, and 2 of them got COVID, so it's been put on hold, but they'll still do the gigs. They're just been postponed. We've had loads postponed. Loads this year. Put back to 22. The
theatres have only just reopened the last month or so. Where I am, we've got the Alamo Dome, a lot of sporting events there, a lot of boxing events. You have the AT&T Centre here, which is a big venue. That's where the San Antonio Spurs basketball team play. But a lot of concerts there. But downtown, we have the Majestic Theatre and the Tobin Centre. And the Aztec Theatre, all so close together. And they were closed for so long. And a lot of the stage hands, very good friends of mine. And I'm glad to see that's open again now,
And the back in work.
Yeah, because a lot of people saying, the pandemic affected so many people. But when you think about our industry, not only the performers, the lighting guys, the sound guys, all the stage hands, they all suffered,
The girl on the ticket desk, everyone suffers.
Yeah. What's the best platform for people to find you? Find out more about you?
I'd say Facebook. You can find Genesis Visible Touch. You can find us on there, tour dates, videos. And the same for And Finally Phil Collins too, Facebook. And also YouTube, Genesis Visible Touch on YouTube.
Okay.
Is the one. I think the next time, if they come on again, Joe, you want us on, I'll try and I'll send you an audio of a couple of the songs from the trip shows.
Yeah.
Give people a listen. It's always been a dream of mine personally to get over to America like yourself and tour with the bands in the States. That's like the next dream really that I'm trying to grasp onto. And, it might be a case that we need some sponsorship over there in the States. So anyone listening with a couple of quid, get behind us, and sponsor us, because we've got total faith in the projects that they'll grow. But unless you get that chance, it's a bit like a tennis player or a sportsman. They always get sponsored when they're starting out and wanting to tour. And yeah, so hopefully one day, because I love the American audience. I get texts every day and emails.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when are you guys coming over, man? Long Island, New York, and you know.
Well, that's good. You can use that because you know, as you say, anyone listening, promoters and stuff. But because it's not like you saying, "Oh, I want to go and play America." You're getting contacted by the American people, so they're watching you anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say unless I was like confident, but I definitely think if we done like one tour in the States, done a few of the states, that I really think that we could go from there. You know, I think it'd be good. It'd be okay. We just need that chance.
Yeah. I haven't seen any Genesis or Phil Collins tributes out to you.
I think there's the Musical Box, but they're Canada, aren't they? But I think they come over and tour the States, the Musical Box. They're Gabriel era more than Collins.
All right, so that wouldn't clash with you anyway.
Different show, really.
The tributes out here, I've seen a lot of Beatle bands, obviously. There's a lot of Beatle tribute acts out here. The Pink Floyd Laser Show comes here. Yeah, I haven't seen any Genesis. That's what you'd like to do next, America?
I'd love to. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've still got a lot of work to do back home. But we've nearly visited nearly every city back home now. And Scotland. I've done Wales, Swansea, Cardiff. I've just always fancied the States. I've got all the old bootlegs from the 70s and 80s of Genesis. I'm a bit of a nerd like that. And you can hear the audience. You know, the guy who's got his tape recorder right next to him with his Coke, you know, in the Houston Astrodome or the wherever, playing in Chicago Uptown Theatre. And the enthusiasm is just amazing.
It's Coca-Cola. I'm just checking. So do you have future dates coming up? And how can people purchase tickets?
Tickets, you can go onto our website, Genesis Visible Touch. We've got 5 dates left in 21, and 2022 is looking really busy as well. We'll be visiting most cities.
Okay.
So yeah, give us a.
And it's within the UK. Is it all the UK?
Yeah, they're the UK. We're doing a tour of Scotland as well. We're doing Glasgow, St Luke's, which is a really prestigious venue in Scotland. Glasgow, St Luke's, like Delamitri are playing there, and other like really quality acts. So yeah, England, Scotland, and we're doing Cardiff as well, Wales. So yeah, you can catch us all over really.
Do you see yourself doing the Phil Collins thing for quite a while then?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah.
As long as I stay healthy and as long as people want to see the band. Yeah, I'd have no qualms about doing it for another 10 years if I'm allowed to. And also, I am writing my own songs, so if I could develop my own stuff as a separate thing. It is very much like Phil's solo stuff. It's got an 80s sound, keyboards, synths, that type of feel. So yeah, if I could keep doing the live shows and what I'm doing, great, yeah, I'll try my best.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Not doing the original stuff. I'll give you an example. I don't know whether you know Gavin Pring at all. Gavin's a friend of mine. He's been on the show. He's from Bootle, Gavin, but he plays George Harrison in the ultimate Fab Four tributes. They're based out of California. But I know there's so many Beatle bands. These guys have won an Emmy. They were on Access TV and the PBS. They performed live the whole Sgt. Pepper album, front and back, through, right the way. And I've been to their shows. Fantastic shows. But he writes stuff, and his original stuff, it's very, very George Harrison. But it's him. It's Gavin. But it's because his
bit
voice.
Of him still in there.
Oh, definitely. Because his voice is very George Harrison anyway. The licks and all that on the guitar. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Okay, that's your style, but it's still you. And it's like what you're doing now. You got the Phil Collins thing. You say is in your original music, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like I don't know whether people know this, but Bruno Mars. Yeah. It's well known. He was a Michael Jackson tribute before he got mainstream with his own stuff.
Yeah.
And when you listen to his stuff, you can hear Jackson all over it, can't you?
Back home when Oasis came out, everybody's like, it's the Beatles. Especially the start of Look Back in Anger, which I thought was very clever of Noel, that intro, because to get your attention.
That's like Imagine to me,
exactly, yeah, because everyone went, that's Imagine. Then he kicks in with Slip Inside. So yeah, I know what you mean.
I always thought they had a Beatles sound. They were like sort of bit of the Beatles, bit of the Sex Pistols. They had a bit of raunch to them, Oasis, didn't they?
Yeah, the rock and roll for sure, yeah.
Yeah, they're more rocky as well, so
Blair were more poppy, weren't they? And they were more that rivalry in the
they were
90s.
the Kinks, maybe.
Yeah.
I love both them bands, like.
Oh yeah.
They're great songs.
Yeah. Chris, it's been a pleasure, my friend. It's great to catch up again, and thank you for joining us today. Please tell all the boys I said hello.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Terry.
Absolute pleasure. I could rabbit on for another hour here, you know what we're like.
But you know what? You can.
No, it's all right. No, I'll let you go. You've got things to do. But nice one for having us, Joe.
Yeah, and so the best platform, follow you on Facebook, you think, yeah?
Facebook, yeah. And YouTube as well. That's the where you can check the band out, the videos, and yeah.
And for all the dates, it's the Visible Touch website.
Genesis Visible Touch website. There's 5 dates left in 21.
Yeah.
And there's loads of dates in 22. Theatres all over Britain. And hopefully, mate, the next few years, we're going to try and head over to the States and catch up with you in Texas and have a few beers.
That'll be cool, wouldn't it? Let's work on that. Let's work on that.
You show me around Texas.
Yeah. Chris, it's been a pleasure, mate. Great to catch up. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Chris O'Connell.
Thanks for listening.